Hey y'all, welcome back to my bathroom. My name's Brittnee. I'm a real hairdresser, but today I'm gonna take you through everything you need to know about hair color developers so you can mix your formula at home. This is what developer typically looks like. To keep this really simple, all you need to understand about developer is that it is just used to activate hair color or lightener. Just this developer alone basically doesn't do anything. So it has to be married with hair color or lightener for it to work. When you marry these two together, it creates a chemical reaction and starts working. And that's how your hair changes color, either darker or lighter. Developers come in different forms. There's clear, cream, and gel. This is what the cream-based developer looks like, and it's the most commonly used. So if you're unsure when you're at the supply store, just pick the cream developer. Developer also comes in different strengths. There's 0, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, and there's 50. Would not recommend that unless you're going for the bald look. These different numbers basically represent its oxidizing potential, basically how strong it is. So 10 is going to offer a milder result, while 40 would be a more dramatic result. Now for my UK friends, I'm glad you're here, but your developer is going to read a little bit differently. So I've put a conversion chart up here so you can see what yours will look like. To clarify this, so this makes better sense, I've got cups of water here labeled 10, 20, 30, and 40. That's gonna represent our developer. We're gonna take these Alka-Seltzers and drop 1 in the 10, 2 in the 20, 3 in the 30, and 4 tablets in the 40 volume. We're gonna drop them in at the same time so you can kind of see the oxidation power of each developer. Basically how fast it's gonna work. You can see the difference in the reaction. The 10 volume cup is very slow and steady, not a whole lot of fizz or reaction going on, versus the 40 volume, which is roaring of reaction. The developer is very similar to that. 10 volume developer is not going to change a lot of chemical reaction or damage your hair as much as a 40 volume. How hair color and lightener works is you have a hair shaft. So let's pretend this is a huge hair shaft, ladies. The color molecules either rest on the outside of this hair shaft, like this. Think of little like Brussels sprouts on a stalk. They sit like this. That's temporary hair color, because it slides off every time you shampoo your hair. But permanent hair color, if this is the hair color molecule and this is my hair shaft, when you mix it with hydrogen peroxide and it causes the chemical reaction and all that sciencey stuff, it penetrates inside the cuticle and changes the way the hair shaft looks. So if you had blonde hair and took black hair dye, and it goes inside, it will appear to be black. When you use a 40 volume with your formula and it pushes through the hair strand, it's also puffing it up, just like it did with the Alka-Seltzer. It's roaring in there. That's what causes damage, breakage, hair falling out. If you've ever had blonde hair and had like mashed potato hair, or what's it called? Not mashed potato hair. Spaghetti hair. If you've ever had spaghetti hair, fried, dried, lay to the side, ladies, that is probably why you used a too strong a developer for your hair's integrity. To break the strengths down further, let's start with 10 volume. 10 volume is going to give you roughly 1 level of lift when you're mixing it with bleach or lightener. 10 volume is also used for deposit only hair color. What that means, if I'm gonna take a tube of hair color and I want to go darker, I'm gonna be using 10 volume. For example, this is 1 in the darkest hair color, black. If I wanted to put this on my hair color, which is roughly a level 8, I would use this color with this developer. We're not gonna get into how to actually mix the color because I have a video up here. If you need it, you can watch on the ratios and how to properly do that. So basically, if you're going darker and you have no grays in your hair, you can use 10 volume. 20 volume will give you roughly 2 levels of lift when you're using bleach or lightener. For hair color or going darker, 20 volume is recommended if you have gray hair. Everybody's different, but for me, if I see any gray hair, I'm using 20 volume on my client because gray hairs are the devil's work. They go like this. They're very resistant, angry, coarse. So you need that extra chemical boost to penetrate the hair shaft so the hair color will stay. If you were to use 10 volume developer on someone who had gray hair, it may look good when you initially shampoo it out, but eventually it will just slippity slopity slide off and you'll be given a refund. I personally also like to use 20 volume with any kind of red shade. It kind of brings out the vibrancy and makes it more vibrant, but this is to your discretion. 30 volume, which I don't have because honestly I very rarely use that, will provide you 3 levels of lift when we're talking about bleaching or lightening the hair. For hair color, as far as going darker, it's not really recommended to use 30 volume, but you can use it for what's called high lift colors or a high lift series. A high lift color kind of does the same thing as a bleach or lightener would do. It comes in a hair color tube and it'll say high lift on it, which means you need to use a 30 or 40 volume. It will break through the hair shaft and lighten your hair. Most hair colors in tubes are just meant to darken your hair, so this is a totally different thing. So it's very similar to bleach in that way, but it lifts the hair color level and it tones it at the same time. Whereas bleach will lift it, but typically doesn't tone it at the same time. So you'll have kind of like an orangey yellow tint sometimes after you bleach your hair or lighten it. But I will say, although high lift color is safer for your hair, it definitely does not work as well as lightener or bleach. Old gal here, 40 volume provides 4 or more levels of lift when you're talking about lightener. And again, for hair color, it's not recommended unless you're using that same high lift series. And there's some that we didn't talk about, which is 0 lift. This is basically nothing, just liquid in here, but it provides no level of lift. If you were at the salon or at home and didn't have the color you needed, you could dilute it down to make that color. You could also mix parts of 20 with 0 to create 15 volume. It lightens fantasy colors like the vibrant pinks, purples, blues. It will create pastels in most cases. 5 volume I don't ever use. Honestly, I haven't seen that in several years. 50 volume I honestly have never used. At the supply store I go to, they lock it in this glass cabinet because it's used to make other apparatuses that are not good for any of us, explosion type things. Okay, so that's the basics of developer. There's a whole other technical and chemical side to this, but this should be enough information for you to pick out your developer, because the developer strength is one of the most important parts of your hair color or lightening formula. So you want to try to get that right if you can. But again, like I said, if you're unsure, just stick to 20 volume cream developer, you'll be fine. Okay, so that's it. Thanks again for joining me here in my bathroom. Be sure to like, subscribe, unsubscribe, dislike, who cares? I post new cheap tricks for you every single week. I will see you next week for something cool.